Pakistan cricket at its best. 1 minute down, next minute up.
Thank you very much, everybody, for joining me once again for another exclusive interview for PakPassion. I'm delighted to have this guest today. He's somebody who I've admired for many years. I know my dad, who recently passed away, always admired him as a cricketer. And former Pakistan all-rounder, played 76 tests, 122 ODIs, a brilliant 21-year first-class career. In terms of coaching, he's coached for the Pakistan head coach's role. He's had Kenya head coach role. He's worked for the Emirates Cricket Board, and he's also held some senior coaching positions at the ICC. Delighted to be joined by the one and only Mudassar Nazar. Mudi bhai, thanks very much for your time.
No problem.
Mudi bhai, it's been an absolute disaster, the Champions Trophy for Pakistan. I mean, there's so many things that went wrong. What do you see as the main reasons for this this disaster of a tournament?
Well, look, first of all, if you look at the ranking of Pakistan cricket team, that tells you a story. The decline, maybe it's not terminal, but it has been around the corner. It has been forecasting, and we've been experiencing it throughout. Although there have been one or two bright spots, going to Australia, winning the one-day series there, and doing well in South Africa in the one-day series. But most of the times in T20 and one-day international, and even in Test cricket, that decline has been staring us in the face. So expectations are always there with Pakistan team, and we are always, a team we can spring up surprises all the time, but it hasn't been forthcoming for a while now. On top of that, the selection of not a regular spinner that came to haunt us. Non-selection of a genuine all-rounder who could hold the middle order together, maybe late middle order, and bowl 10 overs. If I look at my career, with Imran as captain, we used to play 5 bowlers, and I would be the 6th bowler. And invariably, I would finish my 10 overs, and the rest of the bowlers, some of them used to miss out. So you'd have real strength in every 6 bowlers at your disposal, in case one of your main bowlers is suffering on the day. So the selection, and then on top of that, Sam, you getting injured just before the tournament. Sam has been a very bright spark, and probably the only bright spark we've experienced in the last so many years, 4, 5, 6 years. He not only bats with the aggression, he bowls as well, and he's one of our top fieldsmen. And then, on top of that, the injury to Fakhar. Fakhar is the only one who can take the game away from the opposition. Unfortunately, he's missed out on a lot of cricket recently, mainly due to his injury. And then come to the tournament, get a big score, and then get injured, especially when the other top order was struggling. And these are some of the things I can highlight. Unfortunate part has been the form of Babar Azam ever since he lost his captaincy. The consistency is not there, and the big scores are they're not happening for him for the time being.
Mudi bhai, just on that point about the decline, this decline isn't just in 50-over cricket, though. We're talking about the Champions Trophy. This decline is happening in T20 cricket and Test cricket as well, isn't it? So it's a decline across all formats.
I think I spoke to somebody the other day, and I'm reading, and I quoted Greg Chappell the other day. Greg Chappell in '81 went through a patch where he scored 5 consecutive zeros, and out of those 5, twice he got up to me. A little bit medium pacer in Australia. You come from nothing in Australia. Somebody of my height and my bowling speed, and he even such a great break got out to me twice. He was so nervous, shaken, and a lot of things happened during those years and all of a sudden, because in those days we didn't know anything about mental scarring, mental fatigue. He just carried on playing in his books. In his book, he writes, about World Series, about the captaincy issue, and family issues. He wasn't addressing that. He just carried on playing because body was willing. He just carried on playing, and finally, he just collapsed. In Babar's case, he's been the only consistent batsman, the only great player in that team for a very long time. We were dependent on him so heavily, and then through some mishap, some mishandling by the PCB, his management of that chair, when we got rid of him as captain. And he unfortunately been not in the same ball as Graham Smith or somebody or MS Dhoni. Those two were made captain as well when they were very, very young. And they came through and they became the outstanding leaders. But unfortunately, Babar hasn't done that. Babar was as good as a batsman as them, as great a player as those two I've mentioned, but maybe not when it comes to total leadership. Something's missing. So he's not been able to cope with this kind of pressure. And from then onward, the slide has been getting bigger and bigger and steeper. And what is the solution to it? I think for Babar, the solution is to lay off cricket, stay away from cricket for 3, 4, 5 months, and then don't come straight back into international again. We've seen that with Shaheen, we've seen that with Naseem time and again. And both of them got injured, came back too early, and came back too early into international cricket, didn't play any other cricket in between. So they need to go back into first class cricket. When they are doing their rehab, soon after they've done their rehab, what is the next step? It is to go back to the first class cricket. Not come straight back to international cricket. And Babar certainly wants to do that. I have spoken to him about first class cricket. And it's about 3 years or 4 years since he last played first class cricket. I think it's criminal. It's absolutely criminal. And when you throw in the central contracts, I'm all for people making money. I'm all for giving them, so financial backing. Cricketers bring in the money. They should be given as much money as they bring in. Is their right? But when you award them with the central contracts, there's obligation from the cricketers as well. Use that to their advantage. Play first class cricket as well. Make yourself available for the whole year. All this nonsense about I'm not going to play this format, I'm not going to play that format. Let cricket board decide that.
And Mudibhai, you were asked by Aqib Javed to help the team ahead of the match against India in Dubai. What did you see amongst the squad, and were there some concerns that you could spot when you were with the team?
Well, they were quite optimistic, but I could see the underlying threat there that some of them were nervous, anxious for what is going on in Pakistan. Well, first of all, their own performances, and then all that noise coming out of Pakistan, especially created by some of the former players on TV. And you see, PCB bashing has been a big sport, a very popular sport in Pakistan. People love that. Unfortunately, it has gone on to players now. Some of the players, especially who lost their place in the team when Babar was captain, some felt he was too junior to become a captain. Some actually lost their places in the team, and they have actually come out in numbers and piled up the pressure on not just Babar, then Shaheen, who was made captain. Babar was removed. All of that has taken toll of the Pakistan team, of their performances.
You are very famous for the work that you did at the National Cricket Academy in Pakistan. You developed that. You started utilizing that facility, and you produced a number of great players when you were there. I'm just wondering about sort of how that National Cricket Academy across the country is being utilized. Are the coaches doing enough in Pakistan cricket? Because we keep hearing, Pakistani talent bought there. But where is this talent?
If ever a country needs an academy system, it's Pakistan. We keep harping on lack of first-class cricket in Pakistan, or too much first-class cricket in Pakistan, not enough quality, and no infrastructure. All of that, when you throw that in, and some of the players who come through having done well, and they come to the academy and you polish them, you work with them, give them the awareness of what is international cricket, what does it take to become an international player, all that package. When you put them through that package, they start to grow in stature. Unfortunately, what has happened, especially since 2020, when I left Pakistan, I left because I didn't want to continue. I had differences with the chairman and not so much with the CEO, but the chairman. And they appointed somebody at the academy, a wonderful chap, an international player. And then they brought in a lot of other outside help, some top players. But what happened was, instead of working at the academy, and even if they didn't bring out their own program, had they just stuck to the programs I'd left behind, they would have survived. They actually would have done well. But unfortunately, they brought in a system where all those coaches who came in, they finished up working with the Pakistan cricket team. So that took a lot of their time. They didn't have enough time to stay at the academy and work with the youngsters, the under 19, or some of the 20 years old, and the under 16, under 13. And that has taken its toll. When people say there's not many people are coming to it, not much talent in Pakistan, talent has always been there. But most of the time, the likes of Umar Gul and Mohammad Amir, and I could rifle quite a few names, big names, who came to the academy system. But I had to go and find them. They didn't automatically come to the academy. Some of the raw talent, you went to the far-off academies and saw it there, and you brought it to the National Academy, and then they came through, they left everybody behind and became great players themselves. So you need to do all of that, not just sit at the academy and the talent will come to you. There is abundance of talent in Pakistan, but there are some links missing. And you need to be very, very passionate when you take this job. This is not 9 to 5 job. It requires getting up 5 in the morning. And we run our program in the summertime when we run a real shift or 12 week. You wake up at 5 in the morning and you go home at 8 o'clock at night. I think 7 days is a big job. It's not coming to the office at 9 and going home at 5 o'clock. No, in between you travel all over Pakistan. Be it's possible for you. There's some security concern at some time where you have to overcome all of that because you've taken up a job and you need to deliver. There's a lot of pressure to deliver. But providing you're passionate about the cause, you can do it.
Mudi bhai, at the moment, it seems like Pakistan cricket's priorities are all wrong. Everything seems to be focused on the PSL, on T20 cricket, players wanting to play in T20 leagues. I mean, you touched upon it earlier in this interview that first-class cricket seems to be the bottom of the pile, whereas when you played, first-class cricket was your number one priority. I mean, how are we going to get out of that mindset?
Well, I think we need first of all get hold of all these cricketers, so central contracted players, and tell them this is their responsibility. And it should come from the head coach, the national coach, who at the moment is Akib Javed. Chalk out a program for them all over the world. This is what happens. National players listen to the national coach. He decides whether they need rest. He decides whether they need to play 4 or 5 first-class games, whether they are needed to be protected, or whether they are told, go 8 weeks, I don't want to see your face, go and train, play 4 or 5 first-class games, do well, only then I'll take you back in. And don't forget, when these top-class players go and play first-class cricket, it makes a lot of difference to the standard of cricket in Pakistan. And some of the guys who are just starting up, you become better by playing against and with better players. See what international cricket is doing. What makes them tick? Just listen to what they're saying. How they're handling pressure. Cricket, first class cricket in Pakistan should be the utmost priority, not at the bottom of the ladder. It should be the number one priority. And when I say first class cricket, again, I'm talking about a package. Infrastructure for first class cricket in Pakistan is deplorable. It's
Well,
deplorable.
I was just going to ask you about that, Mudi bhai. I'm hearing a lot of people saying that the standard of domestic cricket, particularly first-class cricket, is a huge concern. And the selectors seem to be turning a blind eye to it as well, bringing T20 players or ODI players, specialists into the test team. And, it just all seems to be very negative and a bit of a mess.
Well, first of all, the first negative step was taken by PCB of that time. Cricket Academy means 16 regional academies and a national academy. That's a full-time job. I've just already given you the time it needs. You need to spend at the academy. 5 o'clock in the morning you start. You go home at 8 o'clock. And then when you combine it with domestic cricket as well, that you're going to run both. It's impossible. You just cannot do it. Domestic cricket director should be only handling domestic cricket. And when you try and say, oh, save money here, or you're showing your reluctance, or you're not bothered about either the academy or the domestic cricket, just one guy running it, it's really, really unfair on that guy as well. You just can't manage it.
You've spoken about the board and priorities, etc. But surely the players have to take responsibility as well. I mean, some of these guys some of these are big names. They're international players. They've been around for a long time. They simply are not playing to the standard that they should be. And why is that? Why have their standards deteriorated so much?
I was living in England throughout my cricketing career. And once my son started to go to school in the mid-80s, towards the end of the 80s, I didn't have enough time to go to Pakistan to play first-class cricket. I started just playing international cricket like these boys are doing. And my performance started to go down. What did I do? I walked away from cricket at 31, 32 years of age because I couldn't do justice. I mean, it reminds me, it was very painful to walk away from cricket. But I had to do it. I had to make a decision. Because I wasn't my place in the team at that time. And if I wanted to stick around and carry on performing, I had to go back to first-class cricket. I see a lot of international players, great players, the likes of Hayden, Gilchrist, Brian Lara. They all retired prematurely to play in this franchise-based cricket. And they didn't last long. They didn't last long because they weren't playing first-class cricket, they weren't playing any other cricket, they just wanted to play franchise cricket. And within a year or so, it catches up with you. When you're not playing competitively, it catches up with you. And your performance then deteriorates. It goes down the drain. And this is exactly what some of the players are doing. And mind you, in those days, they weren't any center contract to give you the financial stability. That's in place. Use it to your advantage. Go out and play cricket throughout the year. National cricket coach says, or the national physio says, no, take a breather. Here and there, you need to address this issue, that issue. Fine, I can live with that. But you don't decide just to get out of bed one day and say, I can't be bothered playing first-class cricket today. No, that's not. Then you shouldn't be getting under contract. I've said it in the beginning, give them all the money at your disposal, but whatever you can give the players is their money. They bring in the cash, but they must be aware of the obligation. Just
and
like
Mudi bhai, and finally, Mudi bhai,
I want to address something.
Yes, go on. Sorry.
A lot of the noise coming out of the TV channels now is by the former players, and some are actually employed by the PCB. I just do not know how it can happen, because having worked for PCB for in so many different capacities over the years, that contract clearly stipulates that you cannot do any other thing but to work for PCB. Or certainly you cannot give statements which are derogatory to the PCB or which work against PCB. Even after the 6 months have to lapse before you can open your mouth. Where is that? And when a former player says them, a normal correspondent might say something about Babar Azam's form, ridicule him. They can digest that. When it comes from a former player, they've grown up, looking up to them, and they are actually using this kind of language. Players go down. And when you asked me that question before, when I met Pakistan team, and they were under pressure, that was exactly due to some of the former players talking about them in derogatory terms. When people talk about Babar Azam and say Zimbabwe, it's ridiculous because they don't know his record. He's only scored 2 centuries against Zimbabwe. All the other centuries have come against big nations.
And Mudi, sometimes you
you
have to take a step backwards before you move forwards. Are you hopeful for Pakistan cricket, or do you see some dark days ahead before things are going to turn around, or do you just think the future is bleak?
Some of you guys are very young. I can go back to the mid-70s, and especially 1978. I've never forgotten that. Indian team came to Pakistan after a lapse of 15 years. Fortunately for us, we won that series. We won 2 out of 3 test matches. It was the first time there was live telecast of cricket matches in Pakistan. Hockey was our national sport. All of a sudden, hockey went on the back burner. Cricket became in the limelight. When hockey started to feel the pinch, and especially with the introduction of AstroTurf as well, and our hockey started to decline, a lot of our former hockey players started to do exactly what our former players are doing now. It didn't take long for hockey to go down. They destroyed the hockey. And when you're talking about the dark side, this is the dark side of Pakistan cricket at the moment. When I said earlier, PCB bashing, but that has not turned out to be players as well. They started having to go at players as well. Your colleagues having to go at each other. That's what's happened with hockey in the late 70s, early 80s. Fortunate for us is money comes from the ICC. But that money comes with the performances of the team. It goes up and down. Your funding goes up and down. And if we start to lag behind the other international team, we know what kind of influence India has in the ICC. And then we're going to suffer. And God knows where we'll end up.
I really appreciate your time, honest and candid views. And fingers crossed that Pakistan cricket can get over these tough days and improve in future. Maybe we need you back at the National Cricket Academy, Modi Bhai, to turn things around.
Well, let's hope for the best for Pakistan, and let us hope that people stop listening to some of our former players and expose them. And let's think about Pakistan and Pakistan players. It gives them kind of izzat they deserve. And let's just support Pakistan cricket whatsoever.
Absolutely, Modi Bhai. Really appreciate your time. Thank you very much.
Thank you.